A visitor? Indeed. Welcome to the library. It's nothing special, but it's a place where I can lose myself among the books and thoughts. And while you're here, why not take a seat? The night's still young. Well, it's a bit rude if I don't introduce myself. Well, my name is Internet Archived, or Internet for short. And I would like to apologize already in advance that if I sound a little bit sick, since I have been sick the whole month, and I wanted to make this way earlier, but due to my throat just not wanting to cooperate with me, I had to push it until to this date. The night's still young after all, so we have all the time in the world. And so do I. You know, you never really know what goes on in the world, do you? It's fascinating when you really think about it. Have you ever stopped to think about the history behind the monuments they leave around? Like, sure, you could say that, oh, they made this, and this long ago, or you can see like a little bit of history when they were down on that date. But there's one of them that have outlived everyone that's watching this, and the future generations that will live on for us. One that holds a story that I want to talk about. Since I'm not planning going on anywhere anytime soon, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about my favorite monument that has been created by mankind. At first, you might expect something obvious, like the Statue of Liberty or one of the great dams in the Netherlands. And sure, don't get me wrong, those are impressive. They're rich in history, and most people has at least seen or heard of them. Actually, now that I mention it, I think the dam might be pretty fitting topic to talk about tonight. So, sit back, relax, get yourself a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and enjoy. Alrighty, well, we're gonna go back in time, like pretty far back. I would say around the late 1950s, following the war. So the Netherlands established a cenotaph in what we now know as the National Dam Square. You might be asking me, well, Internet, what is a cenotaph? To put it simply, a cenotaph isn't a grave in the traditional sense. It's a monument meant to honor people whose remains aren't actually there. An empty grave, symbolic, rather than physical, created to remember those who were lost, or went missing, or were buried elsewhere. Or to simply put it, it isn't about where the body lies. It's about making sure those memories remain. The National Monument itself was officially unveiled on May 4th, 1956, by Queen Juliana of the Netherlands. As you may know, the Netherlands and the United Kingdom are one of few countries who still have a monarchy. In this case, the national ruler nowadays is known as Koning Willem-Alexander. And that fine chap, he is surely an interesting one. A little fun fact, the king and queen of the Netherlands, they don't hold as much power as, let's say, the government. But you might be wondering, why just have a monarchy? Truthfully, I don't know. But hey, at least they have one. I think that's pretty cool. Every year, on that same date, a national remembrance of the death ceremony is held at the monument, honoring the victims of World War II as well as those who died later in armed conflicts. The following day, May 5th, is known as Liberation Day, or Bevrijdingsdag in Dutch. Fun fact about May 5th. Well, as you all may know now, May 5th is known as the Liberation Day, or you could say Independence Day, for the Americans out there. Because on May 5th was also known as the day where the Netherlands got freed from Nazi Germany at the time. It's a day that represents freedom, survival, and the end of years spent under occupation. A small detail on the calendar, but one with a lot of history behind it. The Dam Square itself is one of the most historic locations in the Netherlands, situated in the heart of Amsterdam. Before the current National Monument stood there, a different monument occupied the square up until 1914. This earlier was called the Eendracht, more commonly known as Naadje van de Dam. It commemorated the 10-day campaign, representing a much earlier chapter of Dutch history, long before the Second World War. After World War II ended in 1945, a Liberty pole was briefly placed on Dam Square. Soon enough, the Dutch government proposed the creation of a permanent national monument dedicated to the war. Greetings.
Hello.
So, I thought of an idea, right?
Well, what is your idea, boss?
So, because of, we have the Eendracht, right? I thought maybe, hear me out, just maybe we can, put something to commemorate it. Could be pretty interesting.
Huh? What do you mean?
Listen, we already have the Liberty Pole, right?
Uh-huh.
So I thought maybe we could, make something else. Can you shut your mouth? Let me speak, Mort.
Sorry.
So, pardon me. So, I thought to myself, we should make something pretty cool here. And of course, we can make a dragon. Who doesn't love dragons? Shut your mouth, Mort. I know you're gonna say something. Anyways, I thought I would do a service to our country, to the fatherland, where we create something to commemorate the people that suffered for us and made them their pain that led them here to this very moment. What do you think?
Okay, I think it's pretty cool.
Alright, okay, we can agree. Anyways, get out of my office, Mort.
Oh, man.
Get out! While those plans were still being finalized, a temporary monument was installed in 1947, designed by A.J. van der Stuur and Auke Comter. It consists of 11 urns, each filled with soil taken from execution sites and World War cemeteries connected to World War II. Symbolically, this brought the nation's losses together in one single piece, not just taken from the Netherlands itself, but also from across the wider kingdom or former colonies at the time, those including Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, St. Eustatius, Sabah, Suriname, and Indonesia. I might have missed one or two of them because if I remember correctly, St. Martin wasn't fully a part since, as we look at nowadays, St. Martin is owned by both the French and the Dutch, situated in the Dutch Caribbean. But that's a topic for another time I would like to discuss later on. Let me continue. A reminder that the effects of the war extended far beyond Europe alone. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, the National Monument took on a very different role. It became a gathering place for hippies. Whoa. Who viewed the monument as a symbol of liberty and free expression. In that case, they're in the wrong country. Go back to America. Large groups of people would sleep around it each night in sleeping bags, turning the square into an informal communal space. This eventually led to intervention, and on August 24th, 1970, the city officially banned dampslapen or dam sleeping. Interesting. Over time, the monument has undergone several restorations. The first took in 1965, followed by a major reconstruction between 1997 and 1998, during which the monument was completely dismantled and reinforced internally with concrete. In 2007, a wheelchair-accessible ramp was added to improvise accessibility. Then, on August 14, 2009, was officially granted Rijksmonument status, recognizing it as a national historical importance. More recently, in April 2025, an isolated incident occurred near the National Monument involving a vehicle. The individual involved was injured, but no bystanders were harmed, and the monument itself remained untouched. Even decades later, the Dam Square continues to be a place where history, memory, and public life intersects, changing with time but never losing its significance. It's truly wonderful how much a monument could mean to people and through the nation itself. In my opinion, it's quite lovely. Monuments, like the one on Dam Square, aren't meant to explain history for us. They don't tell the full story, they never really could. What they do instead is stand there, quietly, reminding us that everything we walk past once mattered to someone. That loss, resistance, and freedom aren't abstract thoughts, but things people actually lived through. Over time, the square has changed. People have gathered, protested, celebrated, and moved on. I briefly touched on the design of the monument, like from the temporary one, but I haven't spoken about the current design, which is what we have as of recording this in 2025. Well, I'll tell you about it. At the center of the monument stands a tall, conical pillar made of concrete, rising about 22 meters, which is like this amount, in inches, feet, whatever they use that is in the metric system. I may not know. In my case, my apologies. Into the air and fully covered in white travertine stone. It's the first thing you notice when you step onto Dam Square, and it's meant to feel imposing without feeling overwhelming. On the front of the pillar is the relief titled De Vrede, or Peace. It depicts four chained figures, symbolizing the suffering endured during the war. They aren't meant to represent individuals, but collective pain experienced during that period. On either side of the figures stand two additional male sculptures, both representing the Dutch resistance. The two figures on the left symbolize resistance from intelligentsia, while the figure on the right represents resistance from the working class. At their feet are weeping dogs, symbolizing suffering but also loyalty. Above the central relief is a sculpture of a woman holding a child, with doves flying around her. This part of the monument represents victory, peace, and new life, looking forward rather than back. On the reverse side of the pillar, another relief shows doves rising into the sky, symbolizing liberation. The monument itself stands on a series of concrete stone rings that form steps leading up to it. In front of the monument, on both sides, are two lion sculptures placed on circular pedestals. Lions being long-standing symbol of the Netherlands. Behind the pillars, a semicircular wall encloses the monument. Inside the wall are 11 urns containing soil from World War II, execution sites and war cemeteries across the Dutch provinces. Along the 12th urn holding a sword from the Dutch East Indies, representing present-day Indonesia. Hello, Indonesians. Together, these elements turn monuments into more of a structure. It becomes a physical reminder of loss, resistance, and cost of freedom.